Welcome to the Diplomatic Mission for the Cygnus. Today we're going to basically go over a very brief synopsis of why a church ministry. What's the difference between a 508c1a and a 501c3? So essentially, I've put together a 44-minute extensive video on the subject matter. However, there's been requests to just kind of make a thumbnail of basics. So a lot of people out there are very familiar with what a 501c3 is, and that is where one might hire an attorney, and the attorney would have to get the approval, through the IRS. They're going to have you fill out a whole bunch of forms, and there's going to be a ton of questions on there. And if the questions aren't answered correctly, then you could be denied. Well, the 501c3 is what's common. That's what most people know. And this is something that is required, where you have to get the approval of the Secretary of State in which the state you're operating in. So what we're talking about today is the 508c1a, which is a totally different animal. The first vehicle, or the first entity that the 501c3, the nonprofit or the church or the foundation, what those are they're known to be as statutory. They're statutorily wrought. They're created on a state created basis through the Secretary of State. So they are a creature of the state. You have to get approval from the Secretary of State to open these things. So that would be a corporate entity, and that is something we here at the Diplomatic Mission for the Cygnus would rather allow attorneys to handle that. And for those who wish to operate in the private, in the unincorporated sector, people are reaching out to us for these entities that are known as 508c1as. They're known as Unincorporated Ministries. Some people might call them nonprofit. That's still okay to do as long as we're not matching it up with some sort of a statutory, we're not lining ourselves up with something that's statutorily defined as the 501c3. We want to stay away from that. But for all intents and purposes, we're going to have to, when we get to the stage of opening in the bank account, for those who wish to obtain their 508c1as with us, we will have to do our best to mix and match and assist the banker. And that's my job. That's what I would be doing, or our coaches would be doing, is being with you while you're opening the bank account for the 508. So the 508c1a is an unincorporated ministry. These are ministries that have pre-existed the existence of the 501c3. These are ministries that are unincorporated. These existed before what we see today as the 501s. So the 508 is, our reliance is not upon statute. Our reliance is not upon the Secretary of State. Our reliance is upon God, and having our rights given to us by God and recognized by and through this governmental body, this church governmental body. The early church was known, they used the word ecclesia, and that was never understood to be some sort of a building where you would go get together and, it wasn't like that. It was known to be as a kingdom government. And that's why the early Christians were looked at as if they were treasonous, is because they were running this, some people call them parallel societies. Well, that's pretty much what they were, but they were also trying to be diplomatic, also to integrate insofar as the integration didn't disturb their autonomy in their religious worship or their spiritual worship of the King of Kings, Jesus Christ. So we do not have our reliance upon the Secretary of State. We do not have our reliance. We respect those. If someone wants to do that, that's fine. But what we do is we have our rights recognized by God, and we do not ask for benefits or privileges from the government, meaning to ask them for permission to open this entity. No, as long as the entities do not cause harm to anybody else, the entities are not interfering with commerce in terms of, you know, selling tobacco, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, or explosives, that the church is not, engaged in anything that could cause direct harm to anybody. That's not what the goal is of the church. It's government, under the kingdom of Most High. So the basics on what we do, what we offer, is we offer bank accounts and ministries. And of course, if someone has extra add-ons, like a need to put in, a vehicle that's been paid in full, or we've had it all. We've had people put in their llamas and their cattle and a bunch of other things. We have a beautiful, like, a spreadsheet that you fill out. And once we get a better understanding of what it is you need and would like to do, we're going to ask you first to focus in on your mission statement. What is it that you're called here to do? What is it that you want to express? That's your gift to the world. It can be humanitarian. It can be a legacy. A lot of people are opening up their ministries so they can leave a legacy behind for their children. So some are actually using it as a means for estate planning, in place of estate planning that's all brought forth by the state. So that's something we, have been successful doing I've been doing this, probably 20 years, right? So we have, others that want to put their land in the ministry too. I would recommend that, as long as the land was paid in full, of course, and that's on a case-by-case basis, of course. And so what we want to do is we want to express that, if there's other people out there that want to do foundations and things like that are under the 501c3, they can go into an attorney and do all that. But what we offer is totally different. And when you get the foundations or the 501c3s through an attorney, your rights are limited, and you are asking for a benefit and a privilege for them to agree to allow you to open up your ministry under their 501c3. These churches, associations, or auxiliaries are specific to code, and it's expressed in the code, but it pre-existed. It existed before the codes were even written. But we can count on the IRS to help bring all these things to a logical explanation here. So we're going to go to page 11. So right here is 26 U.S. Code 508, special rules with respect to Section 501c3 organizations. So it says here, new organizations must notify the secretary that they are applying for recognition of 501c3 status. That's new organizations must notify the secretary of state that they are applying for recognition of 501c3. Except, here's the beautiful part, except as provided in subsection C. That's where we get this 508c1a, right? So the 508c1a. So this is still under the code with respect to 501c3, but we're going to go specially to 26 U.S. Code subsection 508. And then we're going to look C1a. Whoops, this is not a PowerPoint. Let's go down here to the next page. Okay. Except as provided in subsection C, an organization organized. Okay, so this is still the statutory side, but then when you go down here to C, where it says exceptions is mandatory exceptions. Subsections A and B shall not apply to. So A and B, which we just read right here, A and B is here. New organizations must notify secretary they are applying for recognition of 501c3 status. Yes, they must do that, except 508c1a, except churches, their integrated auxiliaries, and conventions or associations of churches. I don't get involved in this other stuff. We don't need to get into this because this is complicated. I don't get into this. But for 20 years, we've been doing this, helping people with churches, the integrated helpers, and conventions or associations of churches. So these churches, integrated auxiliaries, and conventions or association of churches do not have to apply to the Secretary of State for approbation, approval, to be able to open their ministry. So that's why we can turn around and open these, and you're not sitting there waiting for 3 months. We get these, within probably a week or so, depending on the volume. If we've got a high level of volume of orders, we just ask for a little more patience on this. But it doesn't take long for us to do this. There would be a form that you have to fill out, and you go through, you pray about the name of your mission, your ministry, the statement of purpose, your mission statement, who you are, what you do, that sort of thing. And then, of course, you would fill all that paperwork out. And then if you're interested, we would have a discussion firsthand. Obviously, we get our half-hour consult if that is if you don't have any outstanding tax obligations or, issues with the IRS, because we don't want any conflicts there. And if there's no criminal background too, because we have to be very mindful that we do not want to have any of the appearances of scandal or anything of that nature. So that's the way we've been running this, and we've been doing it for over 20 years with incredible success. And so we like to keep it that way. So that's where it is in the code. Let's see what else we have here. This is the beautiful part here. 26 U.S. Code, subsection 6033, returns by exempt organizations. There is no filing requirement for the 508c1a. So organizations required to file, they're going to obviously list that which is required here. Oh, keep forgetting it's not a PowerPoint. But here, exceptions to this rule for filing is 508c1a right here. So it's the exceptions from filing is A, mandatory exceptions again. Paragraph 1 shall not apply to churches, integrated auxiliaries, and conventions or associations of churches. So that's the good news. There's no filing requirement. Now, this is supposed to be a brief synopsis. I could talk about this for hours and hours, but I'm going to be nice to everyone and just keep it at a minimum. There's going to be an introduction in the other video that's 44 minutes long. I usually like at that point, if someone's interested in further information on this at that point, I would have invite you to sign our non-disclosure and agreement, because we like to keep everything completely safe. We don't want third-party interlopers getting involved in this or what have you. That's how we've been able to keep this going for over 20 years. So let's see, the last slide, I think, that's kind of a very big, important question that people ask about is this something that you can use to structure more than one ministry? Can you use it can you possibly get involved in crypto and all of that? Well, guess what? We do get into that in the 44-minute video. So once you reach out to us, if you have an interest in this, and if we're a good fit, then we'll determine whether we're going to have our half-hour discussion, free consult to get together and see if this is something you'd like to do. And if you fit the criteria, then we'll move forward with you. But we do get into discussions about, crypto and other things. And of course, everything that we're sharing is stuff that we've actually done. So it's not anything new. These are things that we've been doing and testing out first before we implement this and help others implement it for themselves and for their ministries. So, well, God bless you, and we look forward to hearing from you. Please, reach out to us in the description box below. There's going to be a link there, and there's going to be a type form. You could likely just click onto that, fill out the few questions there, and then we'll get back with you and coordinate a time to get together and see what your specific needs are. It would be an honor and a pleasure to work with you, and God bless you. And we're in the kingdom age right now. We're in a very special time. So we like to just say, let's keep that in mind moving forward. We're all here building tremendous legacies, and it would be an honor to help you build that for the kingdom of Most High. God bless.